Would you like to know how easy it is to raise your credit score 50 to 100 points or more by using your credit cards properly? Would you like to know how to save thousands of dollars on the next new car you buy? Would you like to know how you really can buy a new home without a credit check, mortgage lender, banker, or realtor? If you said yes to any of these questions and you want to have a better and higher quality of life, you'll definitely want to listen to this program. In the next 30 minutes, we will show you how to do all of these things and how you can easily take control of your finances forever.
Hey, Joe White here, your personal mortgage planner. Tickled to have on the show today a person who does what we do on a daily basis on this show, and that is get into step-by-step approaches to solving problems. Now, I've been doing this show for quite a few years now, and frankly, our focus is finance, our focus is real estate, and what I really get excited about is when we have a solution to significant societal problems. And J.L. Tatum, my guest here, basically you've done the McDonald's of the credit repair industry. You've developed a step-by-step program to solving what could well be one of the biggest financial problems in America. And I know I've had you on the show a couple times and we've talked about this, but could you share for the audience just what motivated you as a financial writer to get involved in this approach?
Sure. I've been doing financial writing for the last 25 years. And a good friend of mine living in Phoenix just got totally financially devastated. Some bad things happened to him, and he went through a bankruptcy, foreclosure. Everything that was bad happened to him. And I saw what he did. He just had this miraculous recovery. What put him in this point was he was working for a large company there in Phoenix, and they were bought out by Fujifilm. Well, needless to say, Fuji's got their own CFO, so they didn't need Wayne. He lost his job, had a devastating illness in his family, wasn't enough insurance, had a death, foreclosure, bankruptcy.
So it all happened, basically.
Anything that was bad, he's strictly a worst-case scenario. And I saw this miraculous recovery he did. You know, when he first started into problems, he was in the mid-700s on his credit score.
Okay.
And when it was all over with, he was in the mid-500s.
Now, our audience probably doesn't know the impact of the credit scores, and bluntly, when you're in the 700s, JL, it's basically, you're in that top echelon, you're in the top group. Conversely, the 500s, that's scary.
That's about as far down as you can go. You know, when you're in the 500s, nobody really wants to talk to you.
And to make that kind of recovery in what period of time?
He actually was, he got it straightened out and was almost at 600 in less than 3 months.
Less than 3 months.
In less than 3 months.
That's phenomenal.
And he was starting to get credit cards. And in 2 years, he went from losing all his credit cards, being in just absolutely terrible financial shape, foreclosure and everything else. He's got credit limits on his credit cards now that exceed over $45,000.
Now, obviously, Wayne was a financial expert. I mean, he was a CFO of a company and all that kind of thing. But that doesn't mean we can't learn and then convey his system to normal, everyday people. And I guess what I've seen and what really attracts me to what you've done is it's not just pie in the sky stuff. I mean, this is step by step by step, exactly point A, point B, point C, what you got to do.
Yeah, what we did is I watched what Wayne did, and I watched the formula that he used, and I was so impressed with it that I went out to the bookstores and I started looking to see what kind of books that were out there on the subject. And I found basically there are two types of books. The first one is people that have been through this problem themselves and had somewhat of a recovery. And to be honest with you, I really wasn't impressed with it. Looking at what Wayne did and looking at what they did, it was nothing.
Right.
The other books, the vast majority of the books that are out there, are research books. These are people that don't really know anything about. They just researched the subject, wrote the book, and they believe that people want a wealth of information So they had this overload of information in there that when you got through with it, you didn't even know where to start.
So what you've really got here, basically, is you've got real-life expert, you've got you as a financial writer with that expertise, and you're able to combine the two and basically take sophisticated expertise and present it in a way that the common person can understand it.
Actually, I did. I took what he did and I made a simple, easy-to-follow formula. It's easy to duplicate. And I even made it easy for the people. I put the book on CD so they can play it in their tape player, on their CD player on the way to work. And the good thing about this is that this improves everyone's credit. It doesn't matter where you are. You know, you can be at 750 and you want your credit score at 800.
Sure.
So everybody wants a higher credit score. They want a better interest rate on their credit cards and loans. They want to know how to save thousands of dollars when they buy a new car. And of course, everybody would like to know how they can buy a new home without even having a credit check or dealing with a realtor.
Wayne obviously did a really good job. He got it done.
Yeah, really before we go any further, what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you a video that Wayne did.
Great.
And, you know, he'll tell you a little bit about his recovery.
Okay, super.
Okay.
The company I was working for got bought out. As a result, I lost my middle management position and later faced foreclosure and a bankruptcy. How I came back strong quickly is detailed in setting your financial foundation. I bought a new home on a lease option, cleaned up my credit, which raised my credit scores, which allowed me to obtain new credit cards, and then I bought the home on a 30-year, 6% mortgage. What JL has done is detailed how exactly I did it in easy-to-follow procedures. When JL first started writing these programs, my credit card limits were $15,000. To today, they exceed over $50,000. I was a worst-case situation, but folks, the good news is this: these programs will work for anyone, no matter what your financial situation, good or bad. You can always improve it. If you want good things to happen quickly for you like they did for me, acquire these programs. I promise you, you will not be disappointed in your decision.
You know, Wayne did a phenomenal job. I mean, he had real success. But what really impresses me, JL, is the speed with which he turns this thing around.
It's amazing. You know, it was miraculous. And, you know, what he did was so perfect that all I had to do was take that formula. You know, the first thing he did was he ordered a Tri-Merge credit report.
Now, help our audience understand what a Tri-Merge credit report is, because
a Tri-Merge is a combination of all three credit reports plus the scores. It's actually three individual reports all in one plus the credit scores.
Gotcha.
And then what he did was he went through to see if there were any mistakes on that credit report and things that the bankruptcy had, you know, that were left over from the bankruptcy. Now, one of the things that people have to understand is it's the credit bureau's responsibility to list your bankruptcy when you file it, but they're not notified by the courts that the bankruptcy's been discharged. So it's the person's responsibility to notify the credit bureaus that their bankruptcy's been discharged and that these things need to be removed. When he did that, he raised his credit score from 545 almost up to 600 just by cleaning it up. Now, there are three different ways that people can do it. They can either, once they gather all this information together, they can either contact the credit bureau by phone, and the credit bureau will assign somebody to them to work with them. But the only problem with that is that's usually a pretty substantial fee to do that.
yeah.
Or you can do it over the internet and do it by email. Now, Wayne chose to do it by letter, and he would write the letters, send them out registered mail, and you know, once they receive that, he has a receipt on it, they have 30 days to respond. I took Wayne's letters, and I have them in the book, plus I have them on a CD that comes with the program, so that they have a format to go by, and I have blank letters on the CD that they can pull up on their computer. All they have to do is just fill it in, send it off, get a return receipt requested.
So our audience doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, it's just fill in the blanks and let it rip.
Absolutely. And, you know, I mean, there's absolutely nothing to it. If they just follow this format, it's going to work for them. And it's worked time and time again.
Now, Wayne's success obviously was incredible, but, you know, bankruptcy, foreclosure, these are really serious events. I mean, is this truly something that someone can turn around that fast?
Absolutely. You know, what people don't realize is that once you've had a bankruptcy, your credit's cleaned up. Credit card companies want to give you credit cards. You don't owe anything to anybody. You actually are a better credit risk than you've been in years.
So literally, when you come out of the bankruptcy, you're kind of a clean slate, and then you show folks how to take it from that point and begin acquiring again the appropriate credit.
Right. The first thing they've got to do is get their credit score into good shape before they start trying to buy things, or by getting their credit report cleaned up and getting that taken care of. Then the next thing they want to do is move into credit cards.
Okay, now you're saying go into credit cards, because that runs in the face of a lot of the traditional. I think of a woman that's on CNBC every single night, it seems like, who sits there and says, rip the credit cards up, throw them away, live happily ever after. That's not real, is it?
Well, I don't agree with it at all. And the reason I don't is you handle your credit cards just like you do a stock portfolio.
Interesting.
You handle them because you want to make money out of your stock portfolio. Well, the same thing works for your credit cards. And what Wayne did is once he'd gone through his bankruptcy, he started getting some credit card applications in. He filled them out. Now, he didn't apply for a lot of them at one time. He got a few credit cards in, and some of the limits were like $750 or $1,000.
Sure.
And then he started building on that. He started using them properly. And what people don't realize is how to use them properly.
Well, I mean, don't you just pay them off and you know, the next month pay it off again, et cetera?
No, see, what happened was I worked for 2 major banks for 7 years as a consultant in their merchant processing division, which is credit cards. And I learned what the banks want and what they expect out of their customer in order to make them happy. And I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say that you've got a credit card that has $1,500 limit on it. You never want to use more than 1/3 of that limit.
Now, that's a magic number in the FICO scoring matrix, too.
Right. And see, what happens is if you never use more than 1/3 of that limit, and when the bill comes in, don't wait until the due date. You pay it the instant it comes in. And if you don't have enough money to pay a large amount on it, at least try to pay $10 or $20 more. You know, I was listening to this same woman, and she said, tear all your credit cards up, get rid of them, have just one credit card, put all your balances on that, and try to at least pay the minimum payment. And I said, oh my gosh, you're driving your score
Yeah, it's
into the
insanity
basement.
when it comes to a credit score.
You know, and I was doing a radio interview the other day, and the host asked me, he said, how many credit cards should you have? And I said, you need 5. And he said, what do I need 5 for? I've got 2. And that's when I told him, I said, you want to manage it like a stock portfolio. You use these credit cards. When you use them properly, a lot of good things are going to happen to you. Let's take that example we were talking about.
Sure.
$1,500 credit card. You never use more than $500 limit on it. Mm-hmm. When the bill comes in, if you can't pay a big amount, like I said, you pay $10 or $20 more. Now, another mistake that a lot of people use is they'll use their credit card like a zero balance card. They'll put $500 on it, the bill comes in, they pay the $500 and wonder why their credit limits never go up.
Let me think about it. Bankers want to do what? Make money, right?
That's right.
They don't make money if you pay your credit card off.
That's right. And people wonder, well, you know, why hasn't my credit score, my limit on my credit card gone up?
Yeah.
And it's not going to because the bank has no incentive to give you a better credit limit.
So if you want to get that credit score increased, you pay most of it, but not all of it?
Here's the best thing to do. If you're using it like a zero balance card, you know, and you've got $500 on there, pay $350 or $400. Leave $100 on there. Let the bank make a little bit money off of it. That makes them happy, and they will up your credit limits. They'll also lower your interest rates. Now, sometimes you have to ask for it, but if you're doing well with them, they'll lower it if you ask them. And what they do is they report you to the credit bureau as a good money manager. and the credit bureau automatically starts running your score up.
Right. Okay, so as far as getting the score up there, obviously you pay it on time, and you're suggesting even a little early. You don't pay the whole thing, but you pay most of it. And what else?
And that's basically it. You know, it's really such a simple formula that people just don't know. You can't find a book out there that gives you this formula that has been out there until now.
Right.
That gives you this formula that tells you these very simple, easy to follow steps that'll raise your credit score. Wayne took his credit score, which was almost 600, it was still in the high 500s. And after he started using his credit cards, within the first year, he had it up in the high 600s. And in the second year, it was in the low 700s. And now he's at like 760. And he's got almost $50,000 worth of credit limits, and he's 2.5 years out of his bankruptcy.
2.5 years out of bankruptcy, he's able to go buy a house, he's able to buy a car, he's able to get credit whenever he needs it. And he did this basically by following the same step-by-step process that you present so well in the package.
Yeah, and you know, basically what happens is when people start looking at credit reports and how to take care of all these things, it's very intimidating. They don't understand all the codes and everything that's on there. And they go out to a bookstore or a library and try to get some information on it. And those are research books. They aren't taken from real life experiences. They don't tell them how to do anything. When they get through, they know less than they did when they started. And basically, we've taken this formula and said, if you do this first and this second, you're going to get this result.
Now, JL, I'll put it real straight. My personal belief is 99% of the credit repair companies out there are just a bunch of rip-off artists. You know, I mean, have I got it?
Yeah, they really are, you know, and not only that, but they charge a fortune for what they say they're going to do for you. And there's no sense in it. You can take control of it and do it yourself. You don't have to pay somebody some enormous amount to do it for you.
So just a normal person can sit down and they can fix this problem.
This is the easiest thing in the world, because this is a actual formula that's worked time and time again, that's simple and easy to duplicate. Like I said, you do this first, you do this second, you can expect this result.
And obviously Wayne did it. You've had many, many other clients that have done it. I love it. I mean, it's simple. Why don't we order it?
I think it's an excellent idea.
I always took pride in paying my credit card bills on time and in full. After reading Setting Your Financial Foundation, I learned that paying my credit card bills in full each month is the wrong thing to do. Now I always leave a little owing. As a result, my credit score has never been higher.
The Coming Back Strong series of programs, Setting Your Financial Foundation and Acquiring Assets, are normally $250 each. But for a limited time, and if you call right now, you can get either of these powerful programs for only $129.97 each, or 3 easy payments. When you order both, you can get both of these commanding programs of $500 value for only $219.97, or 3 easy payments. Call 1-866-373-5860 now, and your shipping and handling is free. Plus, as an added bonus, you will receive a copy of Joe White's new book, Jumping on the Path to Prosperity, absolutely free. But you have to call now. All of the Coming Back Strong series of programs come with a risk-free purchase guarantee. If you want to have a better and higher quality of life for yourself and your family, pick up the phone and call 1-866-373-5860 now.
Let's talk about the other program you've got, and that's acquiring assets. You fixed your credit. Now it's about getting that home and your car and so forth. And I mean, those are the 2 biggest purchases in someone's life. And I know me personally, I'm intimidated when I go to buy a car. And in fact, I'll tell you what, I've gone so far as to hire professionals to do it for me. And here's someone coming out of bankruptcy and foreclosure and messed up credit. I mean, you know, I dislike it. How do they do this?
Well, you know, the process really is intimidating because, like you said, it's something that you don't do that often. But I owned 2 automobile dealerships. I had a Chrysler, Dodge, and Dodge truck dealership. And I had a Chevrolet, Pontiac, Buick, and GMC dealership. And now mine were a little bit different. Mine were small town dealerships, so I had a closer relationship with my customers. But I know the tricks that the big dealerships use to get a person's money. And, you know, that's what we've covered in here. The thing that is so different between my dealership and what you deal with in these larger dealerships is you can't have a personal relationship. There's too much employee turnover. They're big city dealerships. They got thousands of people coming in. So what you have to do there is you just have to get the best deal you possibly can.
Okay, and I mean, when you look at cars, I mean, the minute that car comes off the lot, it's just not worth much. And I mean, that's a difficult thing.
Well, basically what we did is we set up 3 scenarios for the person that's doing their car shopping. One for a person that was like Wayne, that was in terrible financial shape.
Sure.
The average person that has a good credit score and can pretty well get what they want.
Who's scared to death of those car dealers.
Yeah,
right?
and then
Okay.
somebody that has a perfect credit score.
Okay.
And we set up each one of these 3 scenarios and went through them individually. And we tell you exactly how to deal with the salesman,
Okay.
the sales manager, who the sales manager is actually the one that does all the price figuring anyway. The salesman doesn't really have anything to do with it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then how to deal with the finance department. F&I is where it all happens. They can take a very slim deal, and time they run you through the finance department, they've got a really fat one.
Is that where they add that
That's where they
handling
add-
charge?
That's where they add everything on.
Okay.
And we tell you how to protect yourself against the F&I. We show you all the pitfalls, what to avoid, what to say, and how to handle them.
So what you're doing basically is you're arming our audience with the facts so they know what goes on, so they know what to expect, so that they can kind of avoid it?
Yeah. You know, another thing that people do too, they fall in love with a car.
Yeah.
And you just can't do that. You know, they'll walk on a lot, they'll see it, and oh man, this is it. I've just got to have it. The first thing that someone wants to do before they even start is to make up their mind, you know, to one car or several different cars that they'd like to have. Go on the internet, go to cars.com or do a MSN search or a Google search and find out what that car costs the dealer. So that you have something that you can work with price-wise, you know, before you get there. And you don't want to ever let a dealer run a credit report on you. Let's say you go out shopping and you go to 8 or 10 dealerships and each one of them runs a credit report on you. Those are dings that are on your credit report for the next 2 years. And any other credit inquiry that goes on your credit report, you'll wind up with sheets of it if you look at furniture or anything else. So always, when you do any kind of shopping, take your own credit report with you. And never let them pull a credit report until you've made up your mind, you've made a deal, and you're ready to sign a contract.
Now, what are some of the other things that you need to come equipped with? What are some of the other things that you need to know when you step across that curb and go into that dealership?
Well, you know, first thing you need to do is let a dealer know that you're going to shop him. Never, like I said, don't fall in love with a car. And never buy at the first dealership you go to. And to a salesman, that's a kiss of death to a deal because they know that if you leave that dealership, the odds are they're never going to get you back.
Yeah, now you're not the only guy I know that's owned car dealerships, and another friend of mine that owns a dealership basically says, Joe, there's an imaginary yellow line there. And when they step across that yellow line, the curb, they're gone forever. So they will do whatever they can, if I understand what you're saying correctly, to keep you there and make a deal happen. Now, how can you turn that to your advantage?
Well, what you do is they don't want you to go across that line. And the reason they don't is because they're afraid that they'll give you an offer and you'll go to the next dealership and say, this is what I got offered. And they say, oh, sure, I can beat that.
Yeah.
You know, so they know you'll never come back. But you've got to leave that dealership, go to the next dealership. Don't let them know what you got from the first one, and get all your bids. And when you get the right price and the right car, that's when you make the deal.
Now, the fabulous thing about your program is you know all this stuff before you even get into the game. I mean, basically, you can buy the car professionally just because of that step-by-step process again in the system.
Absolutely. You know, having owned my own car dealerships and having friends that own large car dealerships, I know exactly what they do to get your money.
Now, can we shift gears here and take a look at buying a home when you've just come out of this mess? You know, Jay, I love the system. I mean, we've talked about the car acquisition, which is critical in most people's lives, especially if they're coming out of a financial disaster like this. But you got to live someplace too. How do you get into a home?
You know, I'll give you a perfect example of what Wayne did. The day after his bankruptcy was discharged, he bought a new home.
Yeah, right.
He bought it on a lease option, 24 months, because he knew that it was going to take him at least 24 months to get his credit straightened out.
Absolutely.
Plus, any good mortgage company wants that bankruptcy 24 months behind him.
You bet.
Before they'll make him a decent loan. And at the end of that 24 months, he got a flat rate mortgage of 6%, and his house had appreciated during all that time.
Yeah,
so it was a great deal. And this happened in the Phoenix market, which is a great market.
And I mean, you know, Jay, if somebody's thinking about doing a lease option, they need to make sure it's a lease option, not a lease purchase. That's subtle, but that's real important, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And what we do in the book is we go into all these different things. You know, I've been in the real estate investment business with my partners for the last 5 years. And the information that we give in this one part of the program, ordinarily to get that information, you'd spend thousands of dollars in weeks and seminars. And what we did in here is we covered all the contracts, and we covered lease option, lease purchase, subject to the existing financing. We covered limited liability corporations. We covered land trust, and all the other different innovative ways of financing. But one of the things that we say before you decorate any mahogany, before you sign anything, is you have either an attorney or a real estate attorney.
And
look that contract over before you do
I
anything.
definitely agree. Hey, JL, we're running out of time. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Folks, this guy's a good guy. This guy has taken the trouble to develop this step-by-step program. It's not just for the credit challenge, it's for everybody. I tell you what, you need to stop what you're doing right now. You need to pick up the phone, give them a call, and get this system today.
Armed with the information in acquiring assets, the salesman never saw what hit him. I was able to save more than $4,000 on the purchase of my new car. I see people my age buying new cars, and I know they're paying too much without your information to guide them.
After listening to and reading Acquiring Assets, we came to a decision. We took the information in Course 2, How You Can Buy a New Home, and formed our new company. In 6 weeks, we bought 4 houses. We sold 3 of them, making enough money to have the 4th house free and clear with a considerable profit besides.
The Coming Back Strong series of programs, Setting Your Financial Foundation and Acquiring Assets, are normally $250 each. But for a limited time, and if you call right now, you can get either of these powerful programs for only $129.97 each, or 3 easy payments. When you order both, you can get both of these commanding programs of $500 value for only $219.97, or 3 easy payments. Call 1-866-373-5860 now, and your shipping and handling is free. Plus, as an added bonus, you will receive a copy of Joe White's new book, Jumping on the Path to Prosperity, absolutely free. But you have to call now. All of the Coming Back Strong series of programs come with a risk-free purchase guarantee. If you want to have a better and higher quality of life for yourself and your family, pick up the phone and call 1-866-373-5860 now.